My name is Michael Mastro. Today we're going to look at an updated chart from Meghan Markle. Uh, so if we look to the eastern horizon using sidereal zodiac, not tropical zodiac, we'd see Cancer, the constellation associated with Cancer, rising at 0 degrees. 0 degrees becomes the most effective point of every house. And so let's look and see first how the planets are operating, and then we'll look at when they're operating and during different events in her life, and then we'll see what could be done to remedy the chart. So we look to see how the planets are operating to see if there are any Multicona signs in the 6th, the 8th, or the 12th house that could be challenging. And we have here the sign of Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter in the 6th house. Jupiter can be challenging at times. We have Aquarius ruled by Saturn in the 8th house. No Multicona sign in the 12th house. So Saturn also can cause challenges along with Rahu and Ketu. Let's look and see what she's working on in this lifetime. So we look to see where the Multicona signs are: 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. So the 4th sign of Cancer in the 1st house, learning about name and fame, confidence. And then we have Leo, ruled by Sun in the 2nd house, learning about, again, reputation and wealth, and learning to stabilize the marriage. She did have one divorce. Then we have the 6th sign of Virgo in the 3rd house, ruled by Mercury, all about learning about business and communication. She's doing very well in those areas. Then we have the 7th sign of Libra, ruled by Venus in the house of family and happiness, learning about how to, again, bring your family together or apart. Then we have the 9th sign of Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter in the 6th house. So there's learning about conflict, learning about health issues, learning about divorce, legal issues, a lot of lawsuits with people who breach of privacy, taking pictures without permission, etc. Then we have Aquarius, ruled by Saturn in the 8th house. 8th house is obstacles, windfalls, huge windfall by marrying into the royal family. But then it also can be taken away. So then we have, and then back to this, the 6th house, so there can be some issues with husband, so divorce and also miscarriage, she had that. So then we have Mars in the career house, Aries, ruled by Mars, so very ambitious, driven. So those are the main houses that she's working on, learning about the lessons from each of those houses. So let's go through the planets one by one and see how they're operating in our chart. So Sun is at 18 degrees. It's dispositor in the Navamsha chart. So it's dispositor. So it's sitting in a house ruled by the moon, and the moon is afflicted by Jupiter and Saturn. So then Sun cannot be any stronger than its landlord. So Sun has some weakness, but it gives her good self-confidence and status. But also the instability in the first marriage through divorce. It gave her a great, some fame through marrying a prince, and some support from her father early on. She got to visit the sets. He did lighting for movie sets or TV sets, so that made her want to be an actress. But later on, she got estranged from her dad. So and then her parents were divorced at the age of 6. This also house, in this case, has to do with higher education. She got to be quite educated in 2 different fields, I think, in acting and also in foreign affairs. Although she did not pass the test to really go on in foreign affairs, so the sun is weak. It has to do with politics, so that was an interest of hers. Moon is at 11 degrees. It's afflicted by Jupiter, Saturn, and K2. So that brings some conflict in relationships, some separation from the royal family, and also a suicidal or depression. So Moon is mind and emotions. And so we have Jupiter, husband, Saturn, and then a lot of exposure, public exposure. Moon is public, and so a lot of um, issues come out to be exposed very publicly. She was raised mostly by her mom, so some support from mother there. Moon is mother also. Mars is at 17 degrees. It's afflicted by Jupiter. So it gives her a lot of courage to stand up to the UK and be an activist, but also it's in this house of separation. So separation from royal family also, and feeling of being isolated, trapped in the royal family. Mercury is afflicted by Rahu and gave some delayed success in acting, according to her, because she's mixed race. She wasn't black enough for the black roles and white enough for the white roles. Gave her a controversial speech. She's very critical of the royal family and the monarchy. She gave her ability to be publisher. She's published in Vogue magazine lots of articles, etc. She's very self-critical. Had lots of cosmetic surgery. So Mercury has the ability to bring things together or pull things apart. So in her case, because it's afflicted by Rahu, gives some critical nature there. Jupiter is at 13 degrees, and as we said, it can cause some challenges when it comes close to other planets through conjunction or aspect in the transit or the natal chart. So it gives gives her a husband who's very independent, gives her ability to teach. I think she taught calligraphy. It's during the separation from the royal family, Rahu and Ketu are at the most effective point in the 12th and the 6th house. So that may have attributed to the separation. And Jupiter has to do with divorce. It has to do with conflict, inner conflict, outer conflict. It had to do with also children and husband. So conflict with children and husband. And then also miscarriage. She did have a miscarriage. And a lot of lawsuits about breach of privacy. So people taking pictures without her permission and saying things that weren't true. And she's been quite successful in those lawsuits. Venus is debilitated in the Navamsa chart, so that makes it weak. And so Venus is the indicator for relationships, and it's in the house, it's ruling the house of family, and it's in the house of a continuation of the marital bond. So being weak, it caused some issues there, challenges in the relationships, and may have influenced the separation from the royal family. But it does give her income through performing arts, acting, and some beauty and fashion lines. She's got all of those things. Saturn's at 12 degrees and can cause challenges. It afflicts Moon and Jupiter, and Saturn is the spine, and so she has a really strong spine to stand up to the UK and the monarchy. Gave some windfalls of money, when she married into the royal family. Um, Gives her ability to do philanthropy and service work through the foundation she created called Archwell, where she helps women in entrepreneurial situation, um, the arts, the food issue causes, and it gives her the ability to research acting roles, because this is the house of research. It rules the house of research, but it gives her some difficulty with staff, so the workers. Uh, they Several of them quit after working with her. Rahu and Ketu, um, they afflict Moon, Saturn, and Jupiter and Mercury at some points, and they Rahu gives desire for fame, being in that first house, and K2 in the seventh house uh, gives some unusual relationships. So marrying into the royal family, that's pretty unusual. Um, there's a balance here, between the self and the other, or your partner. So she's learning about that balance, and it didn't work out well the first time, and I hope it works out well for her the second time. Um, let's look at the timing of events. She was born in a Sadi or Saturn period, which can create some unstable ground to be born into. She got married in 2018 and had a baby, Archie, all during a Jupiter Saturn period. So Jupiter's husband and children. And then she had a miscarriage during a Jupiter Mercury period. Jupiter again is ruling this house of a kid can create loss with the child. And then during that, when she had the miscarriage, transit Jupiter and Saturn were also afflicting each other, so causing even more issues. Early on this year and last year, she began the separation from the royal family, and they were finally stripped of the titles. And then they had this Oprah interview quite recently in early March. And this is all during, again, that Jupiter Mercury period. Jupiter, having conflict, Mercury having, that critical issues, pulling things apart. And during this period also, we have Saturn afflicting Jupiter and Mercury and Venus, the family. So let's look at that chart. So yeah, during that period, where the titles were rejected or taken away, Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter, all there together. Even Venus was there just right before that. So yeah, so a lot of planetary issues all happening at the same time, afflicting each other in the house of relationships. So those are the main points for the chart. If what could we do to strengthen this chart? So she's already doing lots of charity work, which would be mitigating for Rahu, and that would be also helpful for Saturn, helping people who cannot help themselves. If she did some charity work for spiritual organizations, that would be helping Jupiter and K2. And then to strengthen all of the other planets would be a very, very good thing to do. So Mercury wearing an emerald, Venus wearing a diamond, which I'm sure she does have a wedding ring, Sun a ruby, Mars red coral, moon pearls. So all of those could be strengthened through the gemstones or a locket called a kavash that contains the Devata yantras for all those planets that we want to strengthen. So those are the main points of the chart. I wish her well in her marriage and her ability to help other people and through the charity work that she's doing, and some happiness and peace of mind after she gets through this period. I think COVID probably definitely had an effect on having her feel more isolated. Miscarriage probably was very devastating. That threw her into that kind of suicidal feeling. Because before she felt that way, I think she was doing a lot of the charity work. But then with the COVID, then wasn't able to do that because of the isolation. So yeah, again, I wish her well. Thank you for listening.